Hey guys, welcome back. We have a midweek energy update that we need to get into today. To me, I feel like the energy of this week honestly is sketchy. We are in an eclipse window, a very powerful eclipse window about endings, transition, and fundamental systemic change, especially in terms of about the way that we're thinking about things. And as we hit Wednesday of this week, we have three aspects taking place at the same time, which honestly in combination feel a little bit like treacherous or ruthless or just very intense and powerful. We've got a Moon-Pluto opposition that's taking place while the Moon actually also trines Neptune. We have Mars exactly opposite Chiron, and we have Mercury exactly opposite Saturn. And we're going to talk about all three of these aspects in our report for the day and perhaps the outcome that they may produce or various outcomes they may produce when combined. But this is definitely, I would say, kind of a red flag day on Wednesday. Maybe proceed with a bit of extra caution, care, active observation, and try not to get too emotionally tied into things. Another thing that we've got going on this week on Thursday, Mercury will leave Virgo, enter Libra. That's a vibe shift, but as soon as Mercury hits that first degree of Libra, he's automatically going to be in an exact opposition with Neptune and Aries. That is an aspect that just traditionally distorts our perception. There's a distortion in the informational field, fantasy thinking, not seeing things clearly, especially in the context perhaps of any type of like official story or specific narrative or like order, rule, regulation, or something like coming down the chain of command or from management or higher up. There could definitely be something a bit off with the portrayal or the relaying of information throughout the day on Thursday, and I would be quite skeptical of everything. Be careful what you believe, and be even more careful what you respond to and perhaps how you respond as a result. There is a real lack of control that could be going on out there, and we've got some things to talk about, you guys. Very active energy week. Let's get into it. Take a deeper look at how things are aligning themselves for us as we hit the midpoint of our week this week, and what it might mean as we prepare to head towards the weekend and our second new moon in Virgo / solar eclipse that's coming up next. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. If you guys stick with me until the end of this video, I have also done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We will do that at the end. We have an interesting energy report that we need to get into today. As I mentioned in my intro, the combination of planetary aspects that we've got going on Wednesday and Thursday of this week could be presenting some difficulties, some challenges. This could be a very heavy energy Wednesday, and Thursday could be like a really weird day. But really, you know, this whole week, we're in an eclipse window right now. We're in the eclipse window of a very powerful lunar eclipse that happened in the sign of Pisces, all about endings, all about transitions, all about like true sweeping systemic changes that need to take place, specifically in terms of thought patterns and how we're thinking about things. And now we're hitting this week just a couple days out from this upcoming solar eclipse that's a new moon that is also going to be exactly opposed Saturn, which is a very challenging energy, okay? Like, this is just all kind of arrows are pointing to this being a not the easiest, a bit of maybe a rough ride over this next couple of days. We can put it that way. But Wednesday, we do have an intense triad of aspects occurring at the same time that may kind of really be reflecting the overall nature of the week in terms of the challenges that could be going on. We, as I mentioned in my intro, have the moon in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius and also trining Neptune in Aries on Wednesday. We have Mercury in Virgo in exact opposition to Saturn at the very second to last degree of the sign of Pisces, retrograde. And we also have Mars in Libra exactly opposite Chiron, the wounded healer, teacher, master archetype, who's also retrograding in the sign of Aries. Any one of these aspects on its own could make things a little bit, rough. I don't love the combination of all three of them happening at the same time, especially when we also consider that this is an eclipse window that has to do with loss, endings, what we're having to let go of, and these major systemic changes in the way that we're thinking as a result. I would say proceed with caution, care, emotional objectivity to the best of your ability. That might just, be of benefit for some reason, one reason or another. We don't need to go through life with a doom and gloom, negative, just assumption about the way that things are going to unfold. I'm just saying all of this in case you happen to notice anything like this transpiring, going on in your life, in the world around you, so that you can just have a better conscious awareness of perhaps how energy is operating, the way people are more likely to be oriented, and why perhaps things are unfolding as they are at this exact point in time. This is not to seed fear in any type of a way, but rather give you a greater amount of conscious power via awareness into the true nature of the way that reality may be unfolding. Okay, so that is my mental frame in delivering this information based on, my perception of the combination of these transits. But things could seem just critical or serious or overwhelming or out of control, or they aren't making sense throughout the course of the next couple of days. There is a lot of intensity, emotional intensity that can come with a moon-Pluto opposition, any moon-Pluto opposition, but Aquarius and Leo, those fixed signs like that can be some extra intensity there. Mars opposite Chiron, this can sometimes bring or represent attacks, victimization, anger, depression. And then we've got Saturn and Mercury also in exact opposition that hardens and narrows our mind. It's cold, rigid thinking, pessimism, doubt, control, or the need to control, maybe thoughts, maybe ideas, maybe people, maybe the flow of information, thinking that is on one hand very calculated, and on the other hand perhaps maybe very delusional or crazy or out of control, because Saturn is not functioning in accordance with the true Saturnian nature, the way that we would expect Saturn to work. Saturn's energy is distorted because Saturn right now is in the very last couple of degrees retrograde of the sign of Pisces, which rules illusion and distortion and things coming undone. And Saturn is the energy that holds it all together. So that being said, when you kind of consider that whole package, and I'm going to talk more individually about each of these aspects, but, briefly, when you consider those transits, okay, and then sprinkle on top of there the fact that we are also in this eclipse window right now, and we are building towards a new moon solar eclipse that is actually the second of two new moons in Virgo, very rare double new moon in Virgo coming up, and it's exactly opposite Saturn, the Lord of Karma. While we're already in this very karmic time, Saturn at the very last degrees of the sign of Pisces, representing that which is coming undone, these endings, these culmination points. Okay, it could just be a bit of a sketchy scene out there this week and moving towards and through the weekend. Also on Wednesday, we have the position of the Earth at 25 degrees of the sign of Virgo, a flag at half mast in front of a public building. And we have the Earth at 25 degrees of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is the purging of the priesthood. So there's that, okay? Everything, you know, it's just... everything seems to be repeating these same themes that maybe we should just have a bit of an active awareness of the nature of the energy on Wednesday. Now, we do have Venus on the sidelines. I talked about this in my last video. She is in tight aspect to both Mars and Chiron. She was an exact aspect with Mars and Chiron Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, she has moved out of exact aspect. She has moved on. There's a 1-degree orb there, but that Venus energy, the presence of Venus, may be smoothing things out or making things less harsh somehow. But this could also just kind of be emphasizing relationships or financial situations. This could be something, or emphasize or bring up something to do with values or value or worth or matters of the heart in a multitude of varying ways. The moon also enters the sign of Leo on Wednesday. This is the sign where Venus is currently aspecting both Mars and Chiron. So that could also highlight or emphasize our love and our loyalties for some reason, maybe playing into these potential scenarios that could go on resulting from these specific planetary combinations. Now, specifically, let's get into how things unfold for us Wednesday into Thursday. The first thing that happens on Wednesday is the moon is transiting the very last couple of degrees of the sign of Pisces, forms a trine to Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and then leaves Cancer, enters the sign of Leo, and immediately forms a trine, fire sign trine to Neptune in Aries, and also in opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. The moon opposing Pluto, this, as I, briefly mentioned earlier, this can bring up intense, powerful feelings, okay? Obsessions, compulsions, confrontations, jealousy, varying power complexes, and either overt or unconscious power struggles that can manifest in the context of other people in our lives and the world around us. Deep, complex feelings and emotions surfacing, intuitive or subconscious urges kind of propelling us to do things. Hidden power, coercion, blackmail, manipulation, mystery. Also, powerful emotional release, catharsis, awakening to deeply hidden truths and core root issues, emotionally deep and emotionally penetrating connections. With the moon in the sign of Leo, this could also make things quite dramatic, or emotional issues could be the center of attention for some reason. This could also bring things, honestly, that are kind of brutal or soul crushing when we take that moon Pluto opposition and add it to a Mars Chiron opposition and a Mercury in his home sign of rulership in Virgo, Saturn opposition as well during an eclipse window, okay? So this can also, this can be powerfully transformative and regenerative, though, for better or worse, but it can, in the higher octaves, also bring some very deep emotional healing or help us gain an awareness into some deeply rooted subconscious issues that can help us to release ourselves from something, or the truth will set you free from one thing or another type of vibe going on as well. This can also be very, very rebellious energy, and it can be a bit of a revolutionary energy also. Now, with the simultaneous trine to Neptune going on, though, we've got to remember that that's distorting this energy. That can make things unclear. It can make things it can bring up things having to do with things being lost or loss, things that are hidden, things that are obscured. It's and it could manifest, on one end of things, it's delusional power complexes and shows of power or strength, demonstrations of power that are just like not based in reality for some reason at all. On the other hand, this can make people very obsessed with finding something out, maybe finding something that's lost, maybe solving a mystery, shining light into the shadows or onto some deep or complex or hidden issue, figuring out, like, again, what is at the core or root of something somehow, getting to the bottom of something. People could be reacting very powerfully to things based on some type of an illusion or some type of fantasy, losing control also with Mercury opposing Saturn retrograde. They could also feel entirely perplexed by something that just doesn't make sense for one reason or another. Maybe dealing with power struggles or confrontations or some deep, powerful emotions or feelings. Again, like creating some urge to do something. Okay, so be aware with the trine to Neptune also that a lot of the fear that may be presenting in this energy is an illusion. So that's our emotional foundation, okay, you guys, for Wednesday. It can be, you know, if we are framing things properly, this can be a time of like tremendous deep emotional transformation, reprogramming the subconscious mind, dealing with like deep psychological complexes that have kept us in self-sabotaging or just repeating karmic cycles. Because it's interesting, you know, because when we add all of these things together, on one hand, it's like this quite treacherous energetic blueprint. On the other hand, it's like the key to unlock exactly what has been keeping us trapped or keeping us attached or keeping us perpetuating cycles and, you know, programs and just like running on algorithms essentially that are no longer aligned with wherever we need to be right now or whatever we're trying to become right now or whatever God or universe, a higher power is mandating us to be or become or arrive at this point in time. So it really does give us an opportunity to like crack the code to our own psyche and really reprogram and make some true systemic fundamental changes. But it's just, it also could just be like messy, like a absolute like melee, like totally not the ideal maybe walk in the park. But it is a very purposeful energy. The nodes are involved. This is a time of extreme karmic release again, and it just may be, you know, things needing to be pushed to the max in order to like make those energetic changes for one reason or another. Okay, so that is, as I said, our emotional foundation with the moon opposing Pluto. Now let's talk in more detail about Mars and Libra opposite Chiron retrograding through the sign of Aries. Pain, wounding, trauma, victimization, attacks, vulnerability. This is the quintessential nature of the saying, you know, hurt people hurt people. Wouldn't be surprised to see it, okay? Mars is in Libra, the sign of other people. Mars represents anger and aggression. It's the Lord of War, okay? So anger, rage, also anger turned inwards is depression. Vengeance could be in the air on Wednesday. This could bring up issues pertaining to the self and others, maybe not in the most like bright and beautiful context, ego wounds, relationship and partnership situations and dynamics, deals, agreements, negotiations, financial situations, things to do with resources, assets, contracts, and legal matters. This is people reacting to pain, maybe violently, or maybe in the context of healing the issue as well. The flip side of this energy is like an active process of solving the problem. Energy like streamlined, oriented, exactly being channeled into healing old wounds, solving problems, remedying like persisting situations, breaking cycles of pain and suffering to the same extent that it's representing the potential for energy to be channeled into causing wounds and causing pain and causing suffering. So this could be bringing some active healing response, some solution, breaking or initiating the breaking of some perpetuating cycle of suffering somehow. Or it could be oriented towards the more aggressive side of things as well. So we've got both of those going on. Just as with the moon and Pluto, we have the potential for, you know, these powerful and like obsessive shows of strength and dominating acts and compulsions to do things based on these powerful emotional urges. And we also have energy that is helping us to transform and to regenerate and to like deeply have the opportunity to discover and heal what is at the root of some of those, you know, issues that may have been manifesting in the more toxic way if unaddressed. And then with this one also, you know, it can go either way. That's why I'm saying on one hand, it could be like total meltdown. On the other hand, it's like the exact combination that can truly break the cycle and remedy the problem. We're going to see the same thing when we move on and start talking about the Mercury-Saturn opposition that's also going on right now. Which is what we're going to do actually in this moment. So now we're going to bring in Mercury in Virgo opposite Saturn retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Then this energy, like this is things mentally unraveling, okay? Either rigid to the point of insanity or entirely lost in translation, lost in the sauce, dazed and confused, out of control. This is probably, though, not going to bring the most optimistic mindset, I wouldn't imagine. Mercury in Virgo, I mean, this is already focused on the flaws and the imperfection. We've got a very critical eye when we've got Mercury transiting through the sign of Virgo. Mercury opposite Saturn is also very narrowly focused in on serious or somber or sobering or difficult or even depressing thoughts. It can just bring this inability to perceive that anything could ever be other than the inferiority of what it is in this moment. Like it really eliminates our ability to like imagine better outcomes to things when we've got a Mercury Saturn opposition going on. Now, the fact that Saturn is retrograding in the sign of Pisces, like that does diminish Saturn's control over our mind to an extent, but regardless, I do still think that this is just likely to characterize our thinking more negatively while we've got this specific transit going on. Now, this is not a long-lived energy. Of course, we are in this eclipse window for the rest of the week, and we are moving towards the new moon opposite Saturn, so it is going to linger. Like there are going to be varying elements of what we're experiencing on Wednesday that do stick around for a few days. But the moon is the fastest moving planet, and Mercury is right behind that. And both the moon and Mercury are responsible for, you know, the moon is how we're feeling, Mercury is what we're thinking. So again, like don't get overly attached to the mental or the emotional whirling of things on Wednesday, because they're definitely going to shift. The way that you are thinking and feeling about things on Wednesday is not going to be the way that you are thinking and feeling about things on Thursday. Like energy is going to shift that quickly. In fact, on Thursday, Mercury is going to just up and change signs altogether. So there is going to be a vibe shift generally. Although, you know, Mercury will still be in an opposition to Saturn, but it will be out of sign at that point, and Mercury is going to actually be opposed Neptune, which is a very different mental world that we're going to be immersed in on Thursday. So even if things seem, you know, just whatever, sketchy-ish on Wednesday, try not to overly attach, because they are going to change rather quickly. Now, that being said, this Mercury-Saturn opposition, Saturn in the end of Pisces, this could be difficult losses, difficult endings, difficult information that we need to process about things, difficult conversations, even things that are kind of like seriously testing our faith or ability to believe in or see the purpose behind things, like maintain our faith or vision in a higher power. Like the difficulty and the pain may really be taking the forefront for some reason on Wednesday, and it's mentally rough with the Saturn opposition, it's emotionally rough with the Moon Pluto opposition, and it's physically rough as well with the Mars Chiron. Like Mars and Chiron opposition, Mars is also like the physical body. That can also kind of bring up like random health issues like aches and pains, just feeling maybe physically more weak or vulnerable than we normally do. So, and being an eclipse window too, like that is also a draining energy. And then when we just add in all of these varying energetic dynamics as well, and the fact that also we have those Sabian symbols, the position of the sun and the earth in place as well. Red flag day in my opinion, okay? Keep an eye on people with depression, substance, mental health issues. That Saturn in the end of Pisces with Mercury there, that really could be having us doubting or questioning our faith in a higher power as well. But I say, if at all possible, what we really want to be focusing on in this energy with Mercury opposite Saturn in the end of Pisces, while all this other stuff is going on, is in strengthening and hardening our faith. Like if we're going to be rigid and narrowly zoned in on something, let it be your faith, let it be divine counsel, let it be your connection to a higher power, let it be like your spiritual studies, or just like being mentally immersed in the spirit world or a higher power, or your connection to the divine somehow, because that's the best remedy, honestly, that this chart right now, right here, seems to be presenting to us. And I think the more that we can orient ourselves in that regard, and if we're going to be detached from something, detached from the perspective that the reality is all that's real, and, you know, do our best to maintain some semblance of vision and understanding of the power of the unseen and the power of the divine orchestrator of our world and of our reality and of our lives, and just really try to have faith in the vision of what we want to create and what we want to experience, and try to, you know, orient our mind and our imaginative process around that. And if at all possible, just try our best to not get overly attached again to all of the mishmash crazy that could be running rampant in the 3D this week. Wednesday, Thursday, okay? Let's talk about Thursday now. On Thursday, the moon does continue to transit through Leo, of course, moves beyond Pluto. This should alleviate tension to an extent, alleviate intensity maybe a bit. Mars also moves out of exact opposition with Chiron on Thursday. That may also help to kind of like ease that energetic dynamic of things. Mercury does, as I just got done saying, also leave Virgo, move out of exact opposition with Saturn, which breaks that mental dynamic also, enters the sign of Libra, vibe shift for sure, but as soon as Mercury enters the sign of Libra, Mercury exactly opposes Neptune and Aries and begins to form this grand trine in air signs with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, both retrograde. All the big outer planets are retrograde right now besides Jupiter. And it during our eclipse season, like, I'm just viewing it as this karmic reckoning that is reestablishing some type of patterning that is going to alter the course of things somehow moving forward. Anyways, Thursday, you guys, this is not the day to take things too seriously, especially if they are somehow related to like management, authority, rules, the like official statement or the official story or narrative or readout on something, there is likely to be hidden or missing or lost information. Things are not clear, they are not accurate, they are not straightforward, people are not being honest, they are not paying attention. They are not thinking or doing or saying things most likely accurately or properly or orderly. Errors, mistakes, forgetting things altogether, not seeing something, overlooking something. No one really knows, okay, when we've got Mercury opposite Neptune. Neptune is illusions, Neptune is distortions, Neptune is fantasies, Neptune is things that are lost and unknown and obscured. Neptune is the fog and the haze, and of course Mercury is our mental clarity and like the streamlined flow of information. When we've got those two dynamics mixed and intermingled together, it's anybody's guess where the accurate information actually is. And then we need to further bring in the fact that we've also got this very rare grand air trine going on with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in the sign of Pisces, or I mean in the sign of Gemini. Now, this is weird, okay? Like this whole dynamic, the fact that we have Mercury, the messenger planet, ruling our mind and our thoughts and what we're thinking about stuff, our ideas, and also the planet that's ruling this eclipse energy that we're moving through right now, having been the south node of the moon in the sign of Virgo that was activated by the sun for the eclipse, and we have just had Mercury and the sun both conjunct the south node over this past couple of days. Mercury is an important planet right now that is playing a very significant role in these bigger karmic changes that are underway, okay? Now, Mercury trining Uranus. Uranus is like the cosmic alarm clock, okay? Uranus is the planet that known as the Great Awakener. It is known to make the changes for us we haven't been able to make for ourselves. This is like the lightning striking the tower energy in the tarot. And when we've got Mercury ruling the energy that we're in right now, and we're in a Virgo cycle also, which is ruled by Mercury. Uranus in the sign of Gemini, that's Mercury's other sign. In the trine to Mercury, in the sign of Libra, also in the trine to Pluto as well, but also in the opposition to Neptune. It's such a strange dynamic because Neptune, right? I just got done describing, this is the dream, okay? Neptune rules dreams, Neptune rules sleep, it rules the unconscious, it rules what we're unaware of. Uranus is the essentially energy that wakes us up and snaps us out of it and like electrifies our mind and like makes us very present in the moment. And we've got both of those energies directly feeding into Mercury, ruling our mind and our thoughts and our communication and our ideas and what we're talking about, and literally all the changes that are going on in this entire Virgo cycle, including the eclipses. That's happening at the same time on Thursday and into Friday as well. And then we've got Pluto over there also talking about deep, like very, very powerful transformations that hit again on this like core root subconscious hidden level. So it's like at the same time on Thursday, we've got energy that's indicating some type of shock or some type of wake-up call or something that is just very mentally stimulating, while also bringing up tons of doubt, very unclear, maybe very like otherworldly, or causing us to question like the legitimacy of the reality. Like, am I just actually dreaming here? You know what I mean? So that's a real interesting dynamic. It is, I am fascinated to see the type of things that manifest when we have Mercury hitting that 0 to 1st degree of Libra, activating the Grand Air Trine, activating the opposition to Neptune. And I mean, of course, the fact that Mercury's ruling these eclipses that are happening in Virgo, and Uranus is also in the sign of Gemini, like, this is information based, okay? Like, this is like a message or a phone call or a conversation or a headline or an announcement. But again, like, we can't trust the validity of it. Like, it could just as likely be some type of an illusion, and maybe it's the illusion maybe that is waking people up. Maybe it's an awakening to the illusion. Or maybe it's the bizarreness of the reality causing us to question whether or not it's even real, you know? So there's that. And we also have to remember that on Thursday, the sun is now only 3 degrees out of opposition exactly from Saturn, because the sun is also transiting through the end of Virgo right now, preparing to come to alignment, or actually the moon will align to the sun, but the sun and the moon will be in alignment together this weekend. We'll talk all about it in the next video. You don't want to miss the next video, because this is going to be a very pressing, important, significant new moon solar eclipse exactly opposite Saturn. So we know the Sun-Saturn opposition is coming. We get one of them a year, and I can't believe that our once-a-year Sun-Saturn opposition this year is also a very rare second of 2 new moons in Virgo that have occurred over the course of 1 month, and a solar eclipse as well. So that's some like intense pressure that could be coming up also, and we are building into that Sun-Saturn opposition specifically on Thursday, and for the rest of the week, the sun, as I said, will be 3 degrees out on Thursday. Control, management, authority, changing the rules, illusions of control, losing control altogether, things unraveling, law and order breaking down, systems, organizations, structures, assembly lines, the end of an old system, the end of an old order, the end of an old way of doing things, multiple choice, or all of the above, okay? With Mercury opposite Neptune on Thursday, this could bring feelings of like being lost, dazed and confused, as I said earlier, mentally detached. This is 100% associated with fantasy thinking, also like blurred vision, just like things not being clear. And as I mentioned earlier, for best results, I do recommend using this energy to focus on your faith, your higher vision, spiritual alignment, spiritual purpose, being as spiritually minded as possible. Neptune also represents the spirit world, the invisible powers existing around us, our connection to a higher power, okay? Mercury is the mind. Being as spiritually minded, as faith-based in our mentality as possible this week will help. Otherwise, this is probably just going to be another week when people are metaphorically or literally losing it, perhaps their mind specifically. This Grand Air Trine with Mercury and Libra could also have people kind of just like crazed or hyper-stimulated or whipped up because of something that they learn or awaken to, or maybe again, like that literally makes them question the nature of their reality. There could be something very strange about Thursday into Friday that goes on with that Grand Air Trine, and Mercury also opposed Neptune again. Mental health issues, people really struggling with like their ability to like maintain their grounding and feel stabilized and secure, you know, in their own mental perception of reality. A lot of people are probably just going to be cracking maybe a bit in this energy, or having a bit of a rough time with things out there for a whole bunch of different reasons. So I say maintain the faith, focus on that, and again, like try not to give too much of your focus to all of the crazy, especially if it just doesn't like directly concern you. The more that you can uplift yourself mentally and stay divinely aligned, the better it is for literally all of us, as some are able to like maintain that higher vibration while a lot of other people may be like activating the lower tones out there. So that's what I have to say today, you guys, about the astrology for today. Tarot reading for today, we actually got a lot of cards that we need to go through, but there is something here about the goal needing to be, or the destination needing to be, or the direction needing to be towards seeking some type of illumination, like seeking wisdom, seeking truth, even if it means that we need to be more self-contained for one reason or another, even if it means that we need to go alone, like even if it means that it needs to be some type of solo trip or solo experience. The energy that's presenting in these cards is just like giving me the impression that our determination to move forward needs to be in partnership with some type of wisdom or understanding or like truth on some deep inner levels that we're coming to for one reason or another. We've got the Hermit and the Chariot card that came out together. So there just needs to be some like inner reflection or coming to our own conclusions or establishing our own truth about something before, you know, moving in a direction or like becoming determined on a set direction. Now, additionally, we have the Three of Wands with the Three of Pentacles in reverse and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. To me, this is symbolism representing the like trying to figure out what went wrong, like what's not working, like why is the plan not translating into the product? Like, why is the collaboration not adding value? Why is, you know, this project like not getting off the ground? Like, why is the goal, like the tangible physical goal or the value, not materializing or not manifesting and being in kind of like a state maybe of deliberation or soul searching or grasping for answers or open to, you know, information or any type of possibility or understanding, kind of like waiting for the idea to come to us or the vision to come to us or the understanding to come, just like trying to figure it out, like what is the problem, you know, staring off into the distance, like trying to make it make sense. But it seems to be something collaboration or value related. So that could be part of, you know, something that we need to be aware of as well. Next, there's the Eight of Wands in reverse and the Seven of Cups in reverse. Don't be too quick to cast a judgment. Don't be too quick to make a decision. Don't be too quick to think or to assume or to believe that you know the answer, you know the truth about something. The Eight of Wands is about like things happening fast. Information traveling quickly, answers coming quickly, responses coming quickly, just like momentum building at a very fast rate. In reverse, it's like, hold on, slow down, pump the brakes. The Seven of Cups is obviously deliberating over a myriad of options or choices or decisions and trying to figure out, you know, if things are what they appear to be. And if that's the case, then which one is the best one to choose? But with them both in reverse, to me, I'm like, hold on, slow down. We don't have necessarily a clear or accurate view of what it is that we're actually choosing from or deciphering or you know, be careful what you are aligning yourself with, be careful what you're committing to, be careful what you are choosing to believe or moving too quickly towards. This is like kind of like slow down your momentum towards like taking something off the shelf. So that may also be relevant and playing into all of this somehow. Lastly, there's choices and decisions being referenced here, you guys. The Lovers card and the Two of Pentacles, both of these are about choices and decisions and balance and going back and forth. Trying to decide, is it this or is it this? You know, do they love me or do they love me not, perhaps? Or is it worth it or is it not? Or is it truly valuable or is it not? Or do I want it or do I not? So there could be some difficult decisions that are weighing on our heart, or that, you know, questioning the value of something, questioning whether or not it's, you know, really in alignment with us, could be playing into it as well. So those were all the varying messages that came out of these cards today that I feel like I'm supposed to relay. On the back of the deck, we also have the Ace of Cups, which is like the prize. That's like a new emotional beginning, like a path to fulfillment. Anything is possible, like emotional inspiration. This can also be a spiritual renewal type of energy as well. So perhaps emotional, spiritual renewal, perhaps seeking something that is truly fulfilling on some level. But it does seem as though before we go in any direction, we need to kind of like fixate on gaining some type of inner illumination or understanding that is kind of like the foundation for whatever, I don't know, path we choose or choice or decision we make next. So that's what the tarot is saying in my interpretation today, you guys. I am now going to get us one more card, synchronicity card. I'm asking God, Spirit, Universe, what do we need to know? What advice do we need? What should we tell ourselves as we move through this week? There's the card. And it says, you guys, persist. Because of his persistence, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be opened to you. Luke 11:8-9. Nothing is too large or too small, and your persistence in believing in God's ability to provide whatever it is you seek will bring you to your goal. Persistence, waiting, patience, and never failing faith will lead you to your goal. To me, this is perfect for the Mercury, Saturn retrograde and Pisces opposition. Aside from all of its other attributes, that is one thing that Mercury opposite Saturn does give us. It gives us focus. It gives us persistence. It gives us diligence. In the sign of Pisces, persistence, wait, it gives us patience too. Persistence, waiting, patience, and never failing faith will lead you to your goal. That is like perfect, quintessential Mercury opposite Saturn and Pisces advice, and I'm like all here for it. So persist, you guys. That is our cosmic memo for the weekend. Hope you guys liked the video. That's what I have to say today. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, you guys, share it with your friends if you think that they would also enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, let me know what's going on with you out there. If you are having comments or If you are having experiences that resonate with, align with, reflect what I'm talking about in these videos, please drop me a comment. Let me know about it. Tell me all about it. That's very valuable information to me. Thank you guys so much for being here. I truly value your presence on my channel. Love you all so much. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group linked in my description box below where I post images of these boards. So if you want to see the whole thing, that's where you'll find it. And come back with me on Friday, you guys. We have another like big heavy hitting report that's going to be coming out. This will be about the new moon solar eclipse Sun, Moon, Saturn opposition that we've got coming in on Sunday. We've also got some stuff going on Friday and Saturday that I need to talk about in that video as well. So you don't want to miss it, and I will be back to talk all about it. Wishing you guys a beautiful midpoint of your week. And until next time, bye.